Well, that was not very pretty, to say the least. Oh man, this one I'm going to have to get some thoughts off. Welcome back to another video on my channel. My name is Josh Finn of ShowMeFootball.com and ArrowheadAddict.com. And I'm here to talk about the Kansas City Chiefs narrowly defeating the Denver Broncos on the road 34-28 in one of the uglier Chiefs games in recent memory. When I made my preview last night with Michael Darcy, I said the only way the Broncos stay in this game is if the Chiefs can't stop turning the ball over. And what do you know it? That's exactly what they did. Patrick Mahomes threw 3 horrible interceptions. Well, the first one, understandable. The other 2 were absolutely ridiculous. And they just can't happen. The interceptions, the turnovers, the fumbles, they have got to stop. They've got to stop. The Chiefs got down to as low as a -6 turnover differential in this game. The L'Jarius Sneed interception at the end of the game brought it back up to a -5, whoop-de-doo. But -6 would have been the worst in the NFL, and I might have to double-check. -5 still might be the worst in the NFL. This is not good. I made a video on this earlier this week for a reason. The issue continued in this game against a horrible Denver Broncos team. I mean, I told everyone, if the Broncos are going to be in this game, it's because the Chiefs kept turning the ball over. And that's what happened, man. It's crazy. I shouldn't be predicting this stuff. By now, this is something that should be cleaned up. The turnovers obviously made things a little bit more difficult for this defense, but man, did they have a bad day as well. And that was the main question I was asking heading into this game, is can the defense bounce back? Well, they did not bounce back, and dare I say they looked worse than they did last week against the Cincinnati Bengals, because the Denver Broncos scored 28 points, which is the most that they've scored in a game all season. This game was going to be a barometer for the defense. Where are you at? This Broncos offense is one that you should be able to have a game where you get yourself back on track because they're not very good, and you build your confidence. This game did anything but that, and despite the fact that the Chiefs won today, nobody should feel good about this win. I think there's 3 good players from this game. 3 players that you can say, hey, they had a good game. And that is Isaiah Pacheco, Jerick McKinnon, and Juju Smith-Schuster. Those are the only guys that had a good game today. Early in this game, it looked like the Chiefs were going to run away with it. They went up 27-0, and Patrick Mahomes was in God mode. He had that crazy flip pass to Jerick McKinnon that went for a touchdown while he was being pressured out of bounds. It was a great play. He was dealing early. The offense looked good. Then he threw that first interception, and it was okay, you can live with that one. Broncos score 27-7, no big deal. Then, a couple minutes later, Patrick Surtain grabs another one from Mahomes before it can hit the ground, and then the Broncos score again. Okay, this is getting ridiculous. Got to clean that up. And then the first drive coming out of halftime, the Broncos have the ball, go down, and immediately score after a horrible defensive drive for Spags' unit. And all of a sudden, it's 21 unanswered, 27-21 game. And I think at that point, everyone was thinking to themselves, no matter what happens in this game, if the Chiefs win, and God, let's hope they win, this is a pathetic effort. No one should be happy with this. I don't even know what else you say about this offense. They were moving the ball extremely well, and they looked good, but the goddamn turnovers just keep coming back to bite this team, and it's driving me crazy. The Chiefs are at a -5 turnover differential for the season. That is horrible. That is unacceptable. And if this is the kind of football they're going to play in January, they're not going to make it far. They're not making a deep playoff run. After the way they played today and the way they played last week against the Bengals, how can you possibly pick the Chiefs to make a deep playoff run? And I don't want to make it seem like the sky is falling and that the Chiefs can't still make a deep playoff run. They absolutely can, and we've seen them do it time and time again. But this is bad football that they're playing right now. This is a dangerous game that they're playing because, look, I've said it all week long. You can get away with the turnovers against teams like the Rams and the Jaguars and even the Broncos today, but you pull that crap against the Bills and the Bengals like they did this season, you're going to lose those games, and they did lose those games. And if you do it again in the playoffs, you're going to lose to those teams in the playoffs as well. And my God, some of the offensive play calling in this game just did not make sense to me. The 3rd and 1 in the second half to Michael Burton, That was never getting converted, and the Chiefs have ran that play on 3rd and short several times this year, and it hasn't worked. And the short yardage offense in general this year has been god-awful. Like, this team, situationally, they suck, okay? They suck, and it's been that way for a while. Like, when it comes down to it, these plays that don't seem very big at the time, that end up being a big discussion point if you lose, the Chiefs are always involved in them. How do you have this good of an interior offensive line and you're this bad at short yardage situations? And for Christ's sake, can this team stop being afraid to just run a QB sneak with Patrick Mahomes when they need a yard? Like, they refuse to do it. Ever since that freak injury against the Denver Broncos a few years ago, the year they won the Super Bowl, they just have never ran a QB sneak with Patrick Mahomes. And at some point, you got to stop being scared to run that play. Like, you're going to need it at some point, and you can't just be afraid because Patrick Mahomes hurt his knee 5 years ago. So, yeah, offense, turnovers, bad situational football. Make it stop. And then we have the defense. Defense. Again, the interceptions didn't really help, but the Broncos had 320 yards of total offense, 214 passing, 106 rushing. Russell Wilson actually looked halfway decent in this game, which he's been terrible all year. He was 23 of 36 for 247 yards and 3 touchdowns. Why is this defense letting Russell Wilson look like Seahawks Russell Wilson? Like, we're the only team in the league that seems to do that. And if not for Brett Rypien having to come in the game for Russell Wilson late there, we might be talking about a totally different, disastrous result. One thing in particular about this defense that really upset me was, once again, just a pitiful display of tackling. Like, missed tackles everywhere, especially on that drive coming back from halftime where the Broncos got the ball. I saw Juan Thornhill miss a wide-open field tackle, and just it's plays like that all over, just giving these teams extra yards that they shouldn't be getting. It's really frustrating. And also, if there's a player that I'm particularly disappointed in today, Joshua Williams, the cornerback. I've never understood the staff's infatuation with him, and every time he gives up a big play this year, I hear, he's a rookie, he's just a rookie, he's still getting it and everything like that, but he's shown flashes. Well, where are the flashes? Because every time I see this dude, he's giving up a huge play. Like, he got beat like a drum all day by Jerry Jeudy to the point where the staff just took him out and they said, yeah, Jalen Watson's getting all your snaps, because Joshua Williams was horrible today. And honestly, I don't get the hype with him. I said all year he's a 5th cornerback and special teamer that is playing like 3rd or 4th cornerback snaps. And he can be good in the future. I've always said, he's a project cornerback. Maybe you hope he can become your next Charvarius Ward in a few years, but it's way too early for him to be out there that much. I mean, Spags is putting him in these horrible matchups that he, shouldn't be in. And speaking of Spags, at what point do we question the job that he's doing? Because this defensive performance is pitiful. And this Chiefs defense, since Brett Veach has been the manager, has underwent 2 massive overhauls. There was that first one when Brett Veach first took over as GM in 2018. He spent basically every single draft pick on defense, and then the following offseason, he went out and got Frank Clark and Tyrann Mathieu and signed a bunch of veterans, and they ended up winning the Super Bowl, which was great. But then just a couple years later, he tore down the entire defense again. He traded Tyreek Hill to get picks and drafted defensive players with them. They got a lot younger. They spent money on Justin Reed, all this stuff. And the defense looks really, really bad. And at this point, Brett Veach has brought in enough of Spags guys to where, like, okay, we should be seeing a complete Spags defense. Like, Spags, this is a bunch of guys that, you signed off on Brett Veach drafting and signing. Like, this is your unit. It should be pretty good by now, and it looks the worst that it ever has at this point in the Chiefs season since he's became the defensive coordinator. So either Spags just isn't a very good coach, Brett Veach isn't a very good GM, or it's a little bit of both, because at this point in time with this regime, this defense should not still be this bad with this level of investment too. How are you the only freaking team to let the Broncos score 28 points this year? That's just absolutely pathetic, turnovers or not. You can't let the Broncos score 28 points, especially when they didn't even have their full healthy team today. Courtland Sutton, their top wide receiver, didn't even play. And also, one of the most embarrassing low points of the game was when the Broncos were in 2nd and 34, and the Chiefs somehow let them get a first down. They let them convert. You cannot let a team convert on 2nd and 34. And, this has been a thing with the Chiefs. For some reason, they've always been a team that lets these opponents convert on, impossible distances. I just don't get it. And they also made a terrible decision when they accepted the penalty that made it 2nd and 34. I forget what it was before. I want to say it was like 2nd and something. But had they not accepted the penalty, it would have been like 3rd down and long. You take the loss of down over the yards because instead you're giving the Broncos 2 plays basically to scrounge together like 20 yards. That's easier to do than 1 down to get, 15 yards or something like that. That was just a stupid decision by the coaching staff. I don't know why you accepted that penalty. Just an ugly all-around game. And it really makes me upset because this team, when's the last time this team really put away an opponent that they should have beaten by 20 points? Like, they should have beaten the Broncos by 20 points. Like, I'm not asking the Chiefs to blow everyone out and get style points every single game, but it would be nice at least every once in a while to have a stress-free game where you wrap up a game by halftime that, should be wrapped up by halftime. Like, I see the Eagles go out there and destroy the Giants, just imposing their will because they can and they're the much better team. Why can't the Chiefs do that to the Broncos, a 3-9 team compared to the Chiefs who were 9-3 before today's game? Like, come on, man. You should be blowing these teams out. These games shouldn't even be close. It shouldn't be a nail-biter in the 4th quarter. I'm just tired of letting these trash teams hang around in games that they shouldn't even be in. I don't know, man. That's my rant. Look, the Chiefs won, and that's important because if they didn't win, it would have been catastrophic. And you would have really heard it from me then, but this was not a win that should be celebrated. This is a win. This is a game where you look in the mirror and you say, okay, who the hell are we? Because even though this stretch of the schedule is easy and the Chiefs should win out, if they keep playing like this, they're going to drop another one. And if they keep playing like this, they're not going to be the 1 seed. They might not even be the 2 seed. And if you play like this, you're not beating anybody in the playoffs either. So this has got to stop. The turnovers, the self-inflicted wounds, the bad situational football, the defense. Something's got to give, man. So that's my rant. Chiefs won, though, so that's at least positive. But I want to hear from you guys. What did you think of this game? Do you agree, disagree with me on anything? Would love to talk to you guys because that one was a doozy. But all that being said, make sure you like, share, and subscribe so more Chiefs fans can find this. And make sure you check out my work on showmefootball.com and arrowheadaddict.com. And I will see you all in the next one. Go Chiefs!